Oh
Okay.
Lord, this is gonna be interesting tonight.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, let's make this happen. How long we gonna be
All
on
right.
for? 30?
Probably about 40. My goal is 45 minutes.
All right, let's make it happen.
All right, let's see. All right, I am podcast episode 3. And now set up live video. We're going live. Come on, put me back up. We are live. Okay, so we're live there. We are live. Good stuff. All right. Good evening, everybody. I am podcast episode 3. We're going to be talking about I Am Married tonight. Mr. Chris, my friend, what's going on, sir?
Bro, it's good to see you always. Interesting topic tonight, I believe. Some eyebrows are gonna be raised and some hairs are gonna be raised. But yeah, good topic. Always good, man. Always good.
Good, good. I see the white is coming in a little bit more prevalent,
It
sir.
is. It is. It is.
Some heft in the white. Okay,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
slightly jealous. Slightly jealous. um, okay, so tonight I am podcast episode 3. I am marriage. Let's get this thing started, sir. The first question I want to ask you: what is marriage, and why do we do it?
If we go
Now, you
with
want me to
the
give you a Webster's definition? Let me give you a
yeah,
Webster's definition of what
let's
marriage
do
is.
this. Let's do this.
All right, so the Webster's definition is the legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship, historically and in some jurisdictions, specifically a union between a woman and a man. However, obviously, we know that it is now a union between any persons who choose both man, or women and women. What say you, sir? What is a marriage, and why do we do it?
I think it's what is a marriage? You know, the blending of two lives together as one. Um, we would go with the contractual agreement um, under the intent of a covenant between you know two individuals, as we say now. But I mean, the foundation, of course, is man and woman coming together and creating a sense of permanence. You know. Um, I would say marriage begins long before we say I do, as well as divorce. It goes into effect long before people, the judge hits the gavel. So I think it's my uncle said it best. He said marriage is a matter of the minds. When you can marry the minds together, and then of course you go through the process in the earth realm. Why do we do it? Innately it signifies, and I'll go with this as well. We do it because it perpetuates permanence. Um,
Okay.
it's an indication of permanence. The laws of land contractual agreement by which in the situation of marital estate, then of course we have things in place to take care of that. Societal norms and things of that nature too. Go ahead.
So, I mean, marriage is marriage. I think that early on, marriage has the idea, or what marriage is has changed.
Hmm.
Um, I think that initially, I mean, you think about it, arranged marriages happened so that people would not lose their inheritances or their lands, or they were merging properties and assets together. So, and in some countries there are still arranged marriages. So, I think that today, especially in a Western civilized country, marriage is more of an idea of love,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and a union as such. And, um, and, 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 Why do we do it? I think that most of us do it out of emulation. And this may sound a little bit misogynistic, but it is what we perceive marriage to be, and an obligation to do what societal norms tells us to do. I think that's why we do it. Think about it. So we perceive marriage, we see marriage, the idealistic marriages that we watch on television and things of that nature. And so we see that and like, okay, we want that. Also, it becomes an obligation. So young women, girls they grow up wanting to be married. I'm not saying every single child. I'm just saying just in general senses. They grow up wanting to be married, and the society says that you should be married. And then men end up wanting to be becoming feeling obligated, I should say, out of the desire for the woman. And so we turn around and be like, okay, well, I have to marry her. I feel obligated to marry her because I don't want to lose, or things of that nature. I think that it's through emulation and through obligation as to why most of us end up getting married. What do you think?
In addition to what I said earlier, if you're going to go, let's go with principle. It's a kingdom concept.
Okay.
Premised upon kingdom principles, designed for male and female to replicate the Christ bride relationship in the earth realm. We're going to talk about it like that. It's a kingdom concept, and I think one of the problems is that many of us are trying to do a right thing wrong.
Talk about it.
I've been guilty of it, trying to do a right thing wrong, ill prepared. Yes. Societal norms have pushed society one way or the other. And I think at this point in life and in the world, we're starting to place value upon authenticity. Now, authenticity, I can't say is rebellion, but it can be perceived as being rebellious. But being authentic does not crush people, but it may rub people the wrong way. But at the end of the day, being authentic is what it's about. And so societal norms, it's pushes us in directions. But when we start getting back to what marriage really is, yes, it replicates the Christ bride relationship for the purpose of multiplying heaven on earth. Yeah, I took it there off the grid.
So then let me ask you the question, why then do we get married? Do you feel like we get married out of the because we're trying to replicate the kingdom concept? Or what is your reason why you think we get married?
Again, doing the right thing wrong. However, when convoluted with life experiences, humanness, chatter from other people, because we are influential, I think that's what convolutes the whole process of, why some people do it. Because the reasons people get married are, let's say you got married with good intentions, but the person you married, she had her own intention. You follow me?
We go. I think
so
now we talking about that.
Motive. We have different reasons and motives. And the only one you can account for is yours.
That's true.
Go ahead.
That's true. We're going to touch on that a little bit, because I think that some of the reasons why we get married, I agree with you there, is that we have to have some real deep conversations before we make this decision to walk down the aisle. And I think that most of the time, because we feel those different pressures to get married. We
Mm-hmm.
feel because we feel those obligations to the societal norms and all those convoluted thoughts and things that come from our brain housing groups that we forget that it is a kingdom principle. And if you do this right thing the wrong way with the wrong person,
At
it's
the
going
wrong
to end
time.
up with the wrong at the wrong time. You're going to end up with the wrong results.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So, um, how important should love be when making the decision to marry? So I'm going to start this. Okay. So love is low on my totem pole when it comes to getting married, to making the decision to getting married is low. And I think that, okay, Proverbs says that a house is built on wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Through understanding, it is established, and through knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the house is built on wisdom, understanding, and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're making a decision to marry someone and we have not ascertained the proper knowledge of ourselves, of our partner, if we have not like read any books, if we have not like done anything to really try to not envelop, but increase our capacity of knowledge, then we are making improper decisions. The other thing why love is so low is because most of us have misinterpreted love,
Mm-hmm.
misinterpreted romance as love.
Okay.
And romance is not love. And I
Right.
believe most of us end up being in romance and never in love. And because we have messed up romance as love,
Mm-hmm.
then we end up with a problem. We end up with a problem. So love is low. I heard someone say this definition of love, and I absolutely loved it. And this is the reason why I can tell you most assuredly, most of us end up falling in romance as opposed to love. Love is the decision to commit to meet my needs for the rest of my life without expecting anything in return.
Mm. Gotcha. I
That's
saw that.
love.
I saw that.
That's love.
I saw that.
Most of us don't understand what love is. So for me, love is low
Mm-hmm.
because most of us never even ascertain that level of love. Well, your thoughts? Talk to me, sir.
Um, well, I like the way you said about romanticizing love. And of course, it is what's so interesting about love is that society has devised so many different classifications or names for love. One word, LOVE, 4 letters. But there's a phileo, there's a agape, there's a this and there's a that. So these different classifications. All right, there's a
Mm-hmm.
familial, parental, this, that, and the other. But if we compare that to the originator of love, realize love is love. So how important is it?
You're gonna tell me
I
it's
think
high on the list.
say what now?
You're gonna tell me it's high on the list, sir.
I can't say that I would say it's an ingredient. It's a
Okay.
necessary ingredient. I like wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom says, know who you are.
Absolutely.
That it also
I
says,
disagree slightly.
say again.
I would disagree. I would say
Let me finish.
knowledge. Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me finish. Wisdom says, know who you are and with whom you can be your quintessential self with. not everyone can handle
Right.
the
Okay.
depth of who you are. And so, because see, man, we did this the last time about love, okay?
Okay.
So wisdom, I believe, is very important because it says this here. It says, wisdom is the principal thing
Principle.
that you can now build upon.
Correct.
So knowledge is information, but wisdom is the proper application, the proper timing of the application of the knowledge attained. And so with that being said, man, listen, I would say wisdom is the principal thing. And when
Correct.
wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, then everything else follows in line. Yeah.
So if you here's and I'm with you. Wisdom is how the house is built. Knowledge is how the house stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happens is we end up with we do not acquire knowledge. Like we just do not acquire knowledge.
Well,
And so what happens?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, with that being said, my people are destroyed for the lack of the acquisition of knowledge.
There you go. So stay in there, right? So if I lack knowledge, and then the partner of mine lacks knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
we got two people trying to say that we're going to get married for life without knowledge.
Without knowledge.
No knowledge. So we have a dumbass marriage.
I agree.
It's two, you know what I'm saying? It's two people that lack it. It is ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance is the lack of knowledge. It's an ignorant marriage because two people that join together and have no knowledge. So I don't know. Think about this. If I don't know me and I select you, like where I'm going may not be. If I don't know me, I can't choose the right person to go where I'm going. You're just here at the moment, but I might be somewhere tomorrow and you're not the right person for me where I'm going tomorrow. Like we're not trying to get the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like where are we trying to get this knowledge from? Or have we read any? And here's the other thing. This is the other thing that so we sit here, especially those of us who are churched, right? We grew up in church, and and so they tell us in church, we'll just pray and leave it at the altar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, prayer cannot change ignorance. It can't change it. If you don't know anything, it don't matter how much you pray over it. It's not prayer that's going to change. It's going to be your knowledge. It's going to be you gaining the understanding. It's about you now from understanding, getting the wisdom. That prayer does not do anything to change anything. All it does is send it to God. But what the Most High is going to take with that information, because the Spirit says, or the Scripture says that the Spirit will bring back to remembrance
Mm-hmm.
what it is that you knowledged. What did you learn? I'm going to bring back to remembrance that which you have learned. I'm going to remind you of what you've learned. So you have to have that knowledge so that when I pray,
Mm-hmm.
I can be reminded of what I've learned.
And I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I like the way you're going with that. I like the way you're going with that. Now, here's another piece that says, now, anyone who lacks knowledge, let them ask of the Most High infinite knowledge. So again, if you're asking and believing that you can get clarity, because everything, even before you ask, you have to believe in the source.
Correct.
Which is an act of faith. So if we're going to do that, then at that point, I believe that I'm going to ascertain information that's going to be shared with me from infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom, infinite intelligence that's given to me for insight. So yeah,
Okay.
It's pretty. I like that, man. That wisdom is the principal thing.
Look, if we don't have knowledge, if we don't have wisdom, let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom being principal thing. But I cannot exercise wisdom if I don't have understanding.
Correct.
And I cannot exercise understanding if I don't have knowledge.
That's knowledge. Mm-hmm.
So I got to know something, then I got to comprehend it, so then I can apply it. And if we're not using those principles, even before we get married, it is doomed for failure. Absolutely doomed for failure. Like it's there's no way it's going to be successful. And again, if we conflate romance with love, and we think, oh well, I'm going to marry him because I love him. I'm going to marry her. Think about this. I've been married. I love my wives to life. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm no longer with them. Love cannot keep a relationship together. It will never keep a relationship together. So if we get into a marriage because of love, and we do not gain wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, then I can sit there and say, I still love you, but I just can't be with you. And it goes both ways.
Love knows its limitations and respects the limitations of others.
Hey.
Love personified, which it is the spirit of love.
That's it.
Yeah, it respects the limitations of others. It respects the boundaries of others and knows its own limitations.
Let's move on because I can stay there, but we got some little tidbits. So, tell me a few keys, sir, to being successful in marriage.
Wow. One of the keys of and I always share it with couples, especially at the beginning, is knowing yourself, being comfortable with you, being comfortable with your company, and being a lifelong learner, willing to submit to instruction. Okay, all that to say this: self-concept. Know your values. Know what you value as a person. You know. Because our values shape our goals. And so when we know our values, then we know whether or not they're going to pair well with someone or they just may be in contrast with someone else. So concept. Another thing is having boundaries. You know, knowing boundaries. There's a difference between deal breakers and boundaries. Deal breakers are just deal breakers. That's just a guaranteed deal breaker. Is like if that's violated, it's off. Your boundaries are expressed, you know, and sometimes the more you practice it, they may develop over time as you interact with one another. The third concept is the third step, or one I think is very important, is also empathy. Being willing to consider another person's perspective. Your perspective isn't right, and the older we are as relates to dating or getting married, the more challenging it is to see life from another person's perspective.
Correct.
You know, because all we know is the way we've done it. But if you have a growth mindset, then you're going to be like, listen, man. So how do you do that, or why do you do that? So when you do that, what are you thinking? You're willing to learn. So I think those three are good starters.
So I have two concepts that I want to add to that, and one is in the selection process, and the other is why you're in it. But both of them happen, you know, through communication. And the first one, they're two both biblical concepts, and the scripture talks about not being equally yoked, right?
Unequally. Okay, gotcha.
Being unequally yoked. Because a marriage was never going to be successful if you're yoked to the wrong person, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've always taught that when I was using this concept or this principle is that it is a donkey and an ox, and the ox is going to go wherever the shepherd leads, but a donkey is going to be just doing whatever it wants to do. And so, the scripture says, "How can two walk together unless they agree?" A donkey and an ox don't agree, right? So if I select someone as a donkey and I'm an ox, then there's no way that this marriage is going to be successful. If I am a person who values working out, but I'm with someone who doesn't, and I choose to marry this person, then there's going to be a problem because there's something that I value. If I value children and this person doesn't, if I value relationships and this person doesn't, there's going to be some. So it starts with the yoking. If a yoke is a connection, we are all tied together, right? So if I select wrong, the marriage is going to be set up for success or for failure from the beginning. The other thing is there can only be one vision in the home, like only one vision in the home. If you look at the word division, the word division is broken down. D-I is two, and vision is singular. So the scripture says a house divided or division against itself shall utterly fall. So there's no way that a marriage will be successful if there are two visions in the home. So if we are using the biblical principles and we are being guided as such, or kingdom principles and being guided as such, there can only be one vision. And so the moment a second vision comes into play, there is going to be a destruction inside the home.
Gotcha. I like that.
Your mind is working. Go ahead, Mr. Chris. Go ahead, talk.
And this is what kind of dialogue comes in between two individuals to
Absolutely.
If they are able to, if they don't want to court. Yeah. And then how much contention is created based on the differences prior to marriage. Yeah. It's very important because, again, if they don't agree and establish guidelines, like in session 4 of my program, Love by Choice, I call it establishing a vision for your future. Okay, you're writing your marriage vision statement or your relationship vision statement. What's the purpose of even being together? What do you want it to convey? I share with them. I said, when you write your marriage vision statement or relationship vision statement, especially if there are children involved, the two of you are held accountable to the children as well as you're able to hold the children accountable to the vision statement. As I say, post it throughout your home. So, a unified vision doesn't mean that it's exact. It actually I feel, and I'm convinced that it means it's similar enough to merge, to marry. It's complementary of purpose. Where we going?
I think that, and that's where, as long as we start really first the selection process, because if you are the donkey and I'm the ox, and I still select the donkey to get married to, the donkey, the yoke is already not equal, and our thoughts and our visions are already not equal. So I think that as you're talking about just through the selection process, starting from the very beginning,
Correct.
and understanding that if I choose the right person to start with, then we should be able to communicate through these things before we get down the aisle.
Let me add this too.
Go ahead.
It is okay to ask questions, guys. I'm serious. I want people to know it is okay to ask questions.
No, sir, it's not okay. It is imperative.
It's imperative. I love it. You know, I like that. It is imperative that you ask questions. And men, to my brothers, I encourage you, ask questions. And I'm going to tell you something else. I encourage you to have a spiritual relationship. I'm telling you.
Man.
I'm
Not even
telling
close.
you, it is imperative. And I tell my daughter this. I don't care how good it is. Your greatest weapon is prayer. Your greatest weapon is prayer. I don't care how good it is. I'm serious. I told her, your greatest weapon is prayer. And she has regurgitated me. She said, Dad, you remember you told me the greatest weapon is prayer? I said, yeah, baby. She said, well, I'm telling you, bro.
Think about it. Think about it. Most of us, let's come back to what you said at the very beginning, the kingdom principle, right?
It's a kingdom concept, yes.
So most of us, we talk about the kingdom concept. I married you and I bow before God, right? But then we don't use, we talk about the kingdom principle, but we don't use the kingdom concepts. Like everything is there for us through prayer, through study, through ascertaining of knowledge. Like, listen, the only way, faith without works is dead. So if you do not do the work, if you're not sitting here trying to gain knowledge and understand and, feed your soul so that when we're in trouble in the relationship, that the spirit can go back to our knowledge. How does that comes from work? It comes from work because you did the time. And all of a sudden your marriage can come back together. Like all those things, they align back to the very simple thing. Do your work. Gain knowledge. Go ahead, sir.
Guys, to our listening audience, to those who are listening, this is my advice to you. It is imperative that you listen. I'm serious. I'm telling you. There's a text that goes like this. In all your ways. No, let's back up. There is a way that seems right to humans.
Go ahead, sir.
In all your ways. No, it says there's a way that seems right to humans, but the ends thereof is death. Okay? Then it says, in all your ways, acknowledge him, the Most High, and he will direct your path. Directing your path doesn't mean you have to follow. So sometimes we've been in some situations like the Most High told me, he says, I'm going to deliver you. But Spirit said, you got yourself in it, it's going to take me to get you out. And I knew exactly what he meant. I knew exactly what he meant.
Sir.
You will learn this lesson and you will learn it well. Acknowledge him.
With that, the vast majority of the situations that we have encountered are ones we put ourselves in. The vast majority. The vast majority. And again, if we are on a knowledge plan, we are seeking the knowledge. 90% of the problems that we've encountered, we wouldn't end up dealt with because it was on us.
That's right.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think that our ideals and the images of marriage have distorted the way that we operate in marriage?
Yeah, I would say that because I mean I have clients across the nation, and none of my clients have done premarital counseling. They may have done individual, but they have not done premarital counseling. I always liken a relationship to a vehicle. Most people can afford the vehicle, they can get into the car based on the payment, and they get excited. They might have even calculated the insurance. They'll tolerate the insurance. How you know whether or not you can afford your vehicle? If you can afford the maintenance.
Hello.
If
Come
you
on.
if you can
Hey,
afford
man, Walls.
it takes maintenance. And in order for there to be maintenance in a relationship, it's a mindset of maturity, development. Most of us, catch this here. I share with couples. I said, ask them their profession. I ask them how long they've gone through it, and some of them say 4 years, 8 years, because I, work with people who are educated and qualified. I said, now, how much training or certification do you have in relationship? And they get quiet. We don't even have a certificate. Haven't even sat at the table of. They just do trial and error, just repeating a cycle, hoping that it's going to turn out right. When they're the constant in the equation. So our ideals, created by television, sometimes these ideals come from negative life experiences, and then we create a utopia or a world where it's perfect. So now we start becoming a perfectionist by nature, or become a narcissist by nature, and we develop this mindset and we perpetuate it. So
wow.
it has distorted our views. It has. The best thing to do is sit your ass down, and I hope whoever's watching this heard me say it. Sit your ass down and study. Study to show yourself approved.
That's knowledge. I love it. I love it.
Because I'm telling you what's going to happen. Go ahead.
Please finish your thoughts, sir. Please, amen, Wall.
Because this is what happens. This is what happens. You start creating. You start creating gods with no trainers, little G's, little gods with no trainers, and they're left to their own devices, man. And I'm telling you, it's like it's crazy out here, bro. But go ahead, let's move forward to what's next.
So, because I have a similar concept, right? Because I think about marriage like a cookbook, right? Or like think about what you see on TikTok and somebody's cooking and this, that, and the third. And so all of us see the picture, and the picture looks freaking like, I like to cook. And my kids will turn around and be like, hey, Dad, I saw this. Can you make this? And they will send me a picture, right? So that's a lot of us see marriage as such. Women can see a man and be like, oh, my idea of marriage is, oh, he's 6'2", 215 pounds, make $100,000 a year, drive a BMW, and that's okay. And we run in the morning, and like this ideal of marriage. A man sees a woman and this picture, right? So she never she never got a bonnet on. She always got makeup on her face. You walk in the home and she's like, honey, I'm home, and take your shoes off. And we put these images in our head, and all of these pictures is the picture of what we see. But the problem is when my daughter sends me a picture of some food, if I don't have a recipe and some ingredients,
the instructions,
then I cannot make what it is on this picture. And so we got too many people in here that's trying to get married, and we don't have the recipe or the ingredients. So I love to cook. I've made plenty of dishes. And every time I try to make a dish using the recipe but I didn't have all the ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
It did not come out the same way that they told me. So the recipe are the steps that you need to do, and the ingredients are the components that go in the dish. And you have to have both in order
You
for
have to have it.
the recipe to come out, and you got to have both in order for the marriage to come out. And I can tell you right now, one of the ingredients for a successful marriage is freaking knowledge. If we're not studying, we're not learning, we're
Bruh,
not
I'm telling you.
growing. It's there. And I think most of us, we keep looking at the ideals. We look at the picture.
Mm-hmm.
We look at everything that it is to relax. And oh, I want that. And we just so focus on that. And we forget that in order to get that, whoever created this dish, whoever made this dish, they have a plan and ingredients in order for you to follow. You can't just
This
get to
is
the
even
dish. Go ahead.
to even see that is to say I want to create this, right? Um, Now we connect with our partner, and um, we start creating without discussion, without dialogue, our relationship, our marriage, how it should go. Not realizing that the family of origin framed it, and that family of origin does not really connect with reality. So session 3 of Love by Choice deals with expectations versus reality,
Mm.
because expectations, they're met with disappointment when they're not communicated. Once I communicate it, now I give you the opportunity to make a decision whether or not it's a good fit for you. So
And you
that's
got to start
my
there.
expectation is revealed, and it's also imposed. It's imposed upon you unbeknownst to you. So it's imperative, man, that friendship is important. Friendship, yeah, friendship is important, bro. It
I
is.
think that I think that so many of us, and here's the deal: when we get older, we tend to try to rush something, um, and um, we feel, oh well, I'm ready. I'm ready to get married. I'm ready.
Hmm.
You know, and instead of just saying stop and let's like really understand this whole thing,
Hmm.
we turn around and be like, we just I'm ready to get married and that's it. And it's like it's going to take time for us to establish all of these concepts before we walk down the aisle. Because you're
Right.
not once most people actually come mess up the timeline. Most people think that the timeline begins while we're dating and then
Right.
it ends when we're married. But the
Hmm.
timeline is actually beginning the day we're married. So you got to walk into the marriage with so many things already lined up and in place.
Hmm.
Because if
Right.
I do not, because actually the way that we act and operate once we get married actually is opposite of the timeline. We think, all right, now that I'm married, I'm arrived and I can relax. When the actuality is, now is the time that I should actually be working towards everything we talked about. And once we kind of change the way that we view timelines in marriage, because you can't relax.
Hmm.
You can't turn around and be like, okay, like rest on my laurels. This now is the time for you to move. It is
It's a
time for you
mind.
to move.
It's a mindset of intentionality. So I would say, when I was a facilitator for AT&T, in my trainings, I would share with them: perfect practice makes perfect. Perfect
Absolutely.
practice makes perfect. So don't go in practicing half-heartedly. Uh, practice with the intent of winning and operating in excellence. So I'll put it this way: excellent practice makes excellence, produces excellence. But with that being said, going into mindset of when I come into a relationship, I'm a gift, I'm an asset, not a liability.
Right. Right.
I tell couples all the time, when you engage this person, you're taking on, and I say engage, but when you engage this person, you're picking up where their parents left off, good, bad, or indifferent. However that relationship was with their parents is kind of gives you an indication of what you can expect from your spouse. So we just have to do a due diligence. And yeah, there's so many people talking about relationship that evidently there's something powerful about relationships. We're designed to be sociable creatures. Yeah, there's something powerful about relationships. That's why it's under attack so much. What's next? What's next?
See, I love, because we could end up being here forever, but we got to move on. So, okay. So I have next topic. What does submission look like in a marriage? Okay. So I want to get this out here first. There is a distinct, clear difference between submission and subservience. Okay. So
that's good.
Subservience is how most people view submission. I am not looking for someone to serve me, because that is not what submission is. Submission meant wives, submit yourselves to your husband. That's all everybody ever hears, is that wives, submit yourselves to your husband. Here's the problem. We don't hear husbands, submit yourselves to your wives, because that is also tantamount to the success of a relationship, of a marriage. How does men submit to wives? Men, the Bible says that as Christ loved the church, a man is supposed to love his wife. How did Christ submit? He came from heaven, went to the cross, laid his life for the church. My job is to submit to you by giving up my life to you as my wife. Now, we both are supposed to submit to each other. Subservience is not submission. Releasing of my will to you and you releasing your will to me is submission. Now, I'm going to say this because a lot of us we've made our minds up. We're not submitting our wills any longer because we submitted to the wrong person. Because you was trying to do the right thing, right? We was trying to do the right thing by saying, I'm going to submit to this person, and this person is, and they did not deserve us being submitted to. And then all of a sudden, now, because you was trying to do the take your shoes off, run your bath water, cook your meals, give you massages, do all that wonderful stuff, and they didn't appreciate it. But that's our fault. That's our fault if we submitted to the wrong soul. But submission looks like releasing, being able to follow, being able to hear. If you are in tune with the Most High, right? Because, again, coming back to kingdom principles, if you are in tune with the Most High, then you're going to know that your partner is not going to be saying something outside of what it is that the Most High is telling you. It's all going to be in conjunction with one another. So submission is not subservience at all, never has been, never will be. If you need a subservient wife, find one. There are women out there. If you need a subservient husband, find one. There are men out there. But those two things are not the same. What say you, Mr. Chris?
What say me? I think in a marriage, when you're dealing with submission, and I agree with everything what you're saying. in a marriage, you are considering the other person's perspective. Um, you are emotionally available. You have an emotional IQ, meaning that you have a growth mindset. Because if you're talking about marriage, you're also talking about expansion, because two are greater than one. The reward is greater than one person. So with that being said, I have a different mindset. Um, you and I talked a little bit yesterday, and the submission is and I get it. Being human, we have different life experiences that inhibit our willingness to be submissive, because submission is often misconstrued as being subservient. Um, so now, with the knowledge and wisdom, we can determine whether or not this is a good place, situation, or person to submit to. Um, so, how do we gauge that person should be edifying me? That person should encourage. Well, not me. Let's take it off of that route and just put it in a relationship. There should be edifying in the relationship, building one another up, pushing toward purpose, um, the freedom to encourage one another and to speak into one another's life. Willing, having an open or growth mindset where I know that I don't know everything, so I'm willing to submit to your knowledge, your life experiences, your insight. Yeah. So I think that it would look like that. Also operating in the love languages, knowing your partner's,
Correct.
number one, knowing your love language, as well as respecting and honoring your spouse's love language or your partner's love language. How they like to
That part right
receive
there,
love.
that part right there is critical because most of us only want to operate in our love language.
Mm-hmm.
And so if my partner's love language, if I'm physical touch and she's acts of service, um, like she's great with understanding mine, but I'm not great with understanding hers, I'm not submitting to her. And so now she's going to grow resentment towards me because she's not being loved in the capacity that she needs to be loved. And so
Right.
it takes us to be able to really understand, again, coming back to knowledge from the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So if I understand that that is your love language, then it's not just for me to receive that love language in my capacity, but also for me to give it to
Correct.
you in the way
Right.
that you need it as well.
Definitely.
So also with this submission, this is a little off the cuff, but I was watching something and,
Mm-hmm.
so I hear often, and I don't like this. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a pandering tactic that I absolutely hate. And that I hear a lot of times men saying that if a man has a plan, a woman is willing to submit. I don't want to go on a tangent, so I'm gonna let you start. So tell me, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
is that real? Do you think that if a man has a plan for a woman to follow, she's easily to commit or easily to submit, I should say?
It's conditional. It's based on the different variables involved. I can't say that it's a guaranteed fact that okay, a man comes with a vision, she's going to willingly submit. Okay, it depends on her mindset. It depends on her life experiences. Depends on consistency, his consistency, longevity of relationship, how he manages, handles, responds to things. Notice I said respond, not react.
Correct.
I think there's so many different variables involved. I don't think that that's a true statement, a blanket statement that could be true for every relationship. I don't agree with that. No, because, and I'll tell you why. Because there are, um, when a man comes into a woman's life who has been doing womanhood and let's say motherhood for years with herself, I think according to knowledge, he needs to observe and then respect the fact that she's been doing this for all this time. You have to ease your way in a situation like that. So just because you have a vision of anything doesn't mean that that's going to necessarily fit in a situation for a particular people or a person or a situation.
Thank you for calming me down because I was getting ready to go crazy. So I think that I hate that I hear, especially when I hear us black men pandering to this situation as such. Most of the issues are people issues, not man and woman issues. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's start there. It is a people issue. Men don't submit to women. Women don't submit to men. It don't matter if there's a plan or not a plan. It is an issue. What irritates me though, if I'm sticking on the man has a plan, woman easily submit conversation, is that, as you talked about, what are all the variables involved? It is not going to be easy for somebody to submit to someone if you have not submitted to someone for umpteen years. Like, that's like I watch My 600 Pound Life, right? That's a show I love to watch. You know what's hard for them to do? Is to stop eating and to cut down to 1,200 calories like Dr. Oz tells them to do. Like, it's hard because their whole life they've been eating 6,000 calories a day. And now you tell them to cut it down to 1,200. Well, that's hard to do. And so if you have operated as such, where you've been the sole, you submit only to yourself.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And then you say, now I'm about to get into a relationship with someone and I can just flip a switch like that. And now I'm just going to submit. Come on, man.
Right.
No, and quit telling people that, because now it makes it sound like men walk into relationships without plans and men walk into relationships without any type of knowledge as to how to have a home and to build a home. You know what? Some of us have done a lot of freaking work. Some of us have gone to therapy. Some of us have grown up in experiences where, you know what, I've watched a man raise a family and a mother and father work together. Some of us have plans. So it just irritates me to see that when a woman, or especially when, come on, brothers. Come on, like don't be just sitting out here killing us. And I'm never going to talk about, because we got work to do. Don't get it twisted. But just don't be out here killing us like that. Like we just like, oh, they just won't submit to us because we ain't got no plans. But come on, man.
Or the presupposition that if I have a plan, then automatically, cut and dry, she's going to submit. Because again, if you come into a degree with a savior mentality, there's nothing to save, or she doesn't want to be saved. You come in, that's a collision right there.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to stop because I can go on a tangent about that. So, last conversation, sir. Absolutely. Should marriages have term limits? Now, let me say this. Okay. So this concept came, I was talking to really, really dope individual, good friend of mine, Jeremy Jackson. And her and I was just having this conversation. And Jeremy, if you're listening, I love you. You are one of the dopest people I know. So,
hi, Jeremy.
Her and I was having this conversation and she said, hey, what's the idea of term limits on a marriage? And I started just thinking about this through and through. And I actually kind of like the idea. So state by state, different states have your licenses are for so many years. So like Georgia, I believe you can get it for either 4 or 8 years. And that works because most women, I ain't gonna say all, but most women change their names. So, it can coincide with that. My theory behind it would be that you would have to walk out with everything that you walked in with. So if I walked in with 3 nickels and if I do not renew the relationship or my partner does not renew the relationship, I walk out of there with 3 nickels. That's it. Like I can't turn around and be like, oh, let me get this, let me get that. I think it would force people to constantly be courting their partner because, again, talking about the previous conversation, timeline, once I get married, now I relax. I can't relax because I don't know if I'm ever going to turn around. Like she might not want me again. So I've got to keep on courting her, keep doing. And then anything that we build together, anything we build together becomes a business partnership in the same way that business together and they work things out and they dissolve the assets and this, that, and the third. Or, hey, we got to be adult and communicate with each other because this business is really doing well and we don't want to lose what we got going on here. So there's, amongst other things, should it have a term limit?
So you said, okay, so this is good. This is good. Okay, so did you say that it would force them to be together or renew? How did you say that?
It's going to force you to continue. To me, I think it forces you to continue to court.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Because you can't just can't chill at that point.
I just want to hear it. That's all.
Okay, got you. Go ahead.
It either cause you to force you to continue to court or cause the death and homicide rate to go up. I was over here rolling, bro. Do you realize? I thought about that. I said, people scrapping to get out. Now they're killing people now over insurance policies and everything else.
Bruh.
When all you got to do is just get a divorce. Okay? Just get a divorce.
Just get a divorce, right?
I get the concept. I get it. Yeah, man. I don't think you should have term limits. I don't think you should have term limits. But I get what you're saying. No, real quick.
Okay.
What if before that term is up, you were out?
No, can't do that. So, because pretty much what that does is, and so like you have to really think this whole thing through, right? So, listen, is it realistic? Is this going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. However,
conversation piece.
Think this thing through. So, like, the only way you can get out of the relationship it's not going to be cheating because everybody they would do the easy stuff and go cheat. Right? Like, oh, I cheated. Oh, I can get out. No, that's not the. And the other thing is, people can stay through cheating. Trust me. Okay. People can stay through cheating. So cheating is not going to be the way out. The only ways out, death, obviously, and through criminal activity.
Man, you about to get a movie made. You remember the movie The Purge, all the series of The Purges? You about to get a movie made. Like a movie, bro.
Because then, it also, it forces you to create, constantly be like, man, I got to keep, because I don't want to end up, not being, you ever seen Married at First Sight? Like married, that whole deal. So you watch Married at First Sight, the people who really want to be married, they always everything that's I'm learning you, but man, I just want to keep on dating you and learning you and growing you. You just constantly turn around feeding into that to that relationship. You can't stop because at the end, if somebody man, it's 4 years, and I'm like, you know what? All he do is sit at home, eat my baby snacks and play PS5 and watch ESPN.
Right.
Or all she do is do this, whatever, whatever it is, it's nah, you gotta focus on this person through this term limit. You can re-up and get another term limit. I don't know. It's just something.
It's a good one. So if you don't want to renew your term at the end of the term, let's say the term is 3 years, right? So at the end of 3 years, no one wants to renew, or one wants to renew and the other person doesn't. What about that type scenario? Okay, are they both?
It has to be both people want to renew.
So okay, so if one person does not want to renew, if one person does not want to renew, then the other, they can just dissolve the marriage. Correct?
The marriage is dissolved. It takes two partners.
Gotcha.
So that means I have to make you feel like you want to renew, and you got to make me feel like I want to renew.
Okay. All right. But now, what if during that time, I've had, yeah. So what if during that time, there's resentment, there's contempt, there is stonewalling, gaslighting, and everything else. Before the term is up, what do they do?
The same thing folks do now. The same thing. Go sleep in separate rooms. Go kick it with your homeboy, homegirl. Do whatever you feel like. Do the same thing. You just go hang out in separate areas, and then all of a sudden we're in separate areas. And then when March of 2024 come up, all right, look.
Let's make a movie. Let's get a movie deal. That's a good one. Just like the Purges. Do a movie deal.
I think the concept is dope.
Okay.
I think that it would be something that if we was to really, really kind of get into it a little bit, it'd be something like, man, could this thing actually work? And it made it just might actually work. So I don't know. Leave it there.
Concept, but yeah.
So
concept is interesting. It's an interesting concept.
It's interesting. Yes. Yeah. I'm not going to say it's going to work, but it's interesting. So, hey, listen, Mr. Chris McClurkin, Peaceable Solutions. Let me tell everybody, I have been a paid, I don't want to say subscriber, but member, user. I love Peaceable Solutions. Peaceable Solutions is one of the best counseling groups out here. Does a phenomenal job of what he does. Chris, tell us, please, what it is that you do.
Ben, thank you so much for, being my brother, being my friend, and also just boosting Peaceable Solutions. But if you want to reach me, I specialize in premarital and marital consults, relationship consults, as well as also individual sessions. So if you want to get in contact with me, the number is 803-386-9842. Again, that's 803-386-9842. Or you can visit my website at, of course, peaceablesolutions.com. All this altogether, peaceablesolutions.com. Looking forward to meeting you guys. We thank you guys so much for tuning into what we do, what we believe in, and the lives we're looking to impact across the nation and the globe. Ben.
Absolutely, man. So please check out peaceablesolutions.com. I promise you, he is one of the best out there. I absolutely love this man. He has done phenomenal work with me, and he has testimonials. So I promise you, anybody who's looking to counsel, and listen, men and women, counseling and therapy is a must.
It's
okay.
It's a must.
I am in counseling and therapy right now, and even the counselor gets counseling right now. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir. It's good for us to get counseling. Black man, especially if you're out there, listen, take your ass to counseling. Release yourself. I promise you, the more you grow, the better you are. So thank you all for tuning in. Go ahead, sir.
I was just going to add to that. The better you grow, or the more you grow, the better you are, and you will attract a different type of person because you will have shed those layers. Some of those layers are childhood layers that you have to take off, or give that little child permission to come meet up with a 30-year-old you now. So guys, I'm telling you, it's worth it. If you're going to be the best you that you can be an asset to someone's life, get some therapy if you need to.
Hey, I'm telling you, I say what you just said in this way all the time. You will attract your level of healing. I said that. all the time.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Absolutely. I appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for what it is that everything that you are, everything that you're becoming. We love you for it wholeheartedly. I Am Podcast. We're going to be coming back in a few weeks. Make sure that you share this with someone. Download the link. Just get it out there, because I promise you, these conversations are ones that are good. Our goal is to make life better, not easy, because life ain't never been easy, but we can make it better in the midst. So love you to life. We'll see you the next time.
See you next time, people. Love you guys.